What if you are doing exactly what you are supposed to be doing? Self-improvement. We're always trying to get better, be better, have more, do more. We question our goals, our passion, our mission. Are we enough? Could we have a better job, a nicer home, a cleaner home? Could we be a better mother, a better partner, a better friend, a better daughter? Am I enjoying today enough? Am I enjoying the summer enough? Am I enjoying these years enough? Am I enough? How can I be a better version of me? We spend so much time in an endless cycle of questions, questioning everything about ourselves. But what if, just for today, you told yourself that you are doing exactly what you are supposed to be doing? You are enough. You are doing enough. You are exactly where and who you should be today. We're like 62 episodes in here, and you've probably puzzled together that I'm a self-improvement girl. I am happy with myself and in my life, absolutely, but I also am anxious and a perfectionist. And I'm really the worst kind of perfectionist because even if I was perfect, which we've already talked about, right? Perfection is an illusion. Yes, yes, yes. But let's just say, for argument's sake, that I could attain perfection. Well, I'm the type of perfectionist who also believes that being perfect just means you didn't set a high enough standard. So yeah, I'm a perfectionist who strives for perfection. But were I to reach said goal of perfection, I would see it as only because I didn't set a high enough goal. So obviously, I'm always striving to do more and be more. It doesn't matter if it's with my family or in my career or even in yoga, which, oh my God, yes, I totally understand is like the exact opposite of how I should approach a yoga practice and the tenets of a yoga practice. But I always question if I'm where I should be or if I should be more. We just passed the 4th of July, and I've kind of reached that panicky part of the summer. Yes, we have an amazing vacation coming up next week, but it definitely hasn't been an action-packed summer till now. When I think of the summers of the past, we'd be off doing things like all of the time. Fun activities, going to the beach, the amusement parks, travel, so much fun. From morning until we all collapsed at night from happy exhaustion. The days were packed with happiness and activity. Obviously, that's tapered off over the last number of years, but with rising 9th, 10th, and 12th graders, it's a whole different ballgame this summer. My daughter let me accompany her and her friend to Target today. And legit, that's the most exciting outing that we've had in a while. I question how I could and should be making the summer nicer for them, more fun, like the old days. But you know what? They're happy. They're loving life right now. They're having the most amazing summer. I have a house full of kids like every single day. Teenage boys are very much like stray cats. If you feed them, they come back and they bring more. And if you throw in a pool and a basketball hoop and video games, well, they multiply really quickly. The one day I counted and we had more than 10% of the varsity and JV football teams here at my house. My boys have football and rest and friends and fun. What more could they ever want? They're happy. And if they're happy, I'm happy. And I actually love having the kids all here. I know some of the other parents have said to me, they're like, doesn't it drive you crazy to have them? But it really doesn't. I actually am happy to have them around. It's just a constant restocking of the pantry and of Gatorades, and they're happy. So that makes me happy. And it's really a great summer. It's not bad. I'm not failing as a mom. It's just different. Just like we talked about back at Christmas in episode 11, when we said that we might need to change things up in our holiday traditions, but they can still be special. No, it's not beach days with snow cones and ferry rides to the aquarium and picnics at the playground, but it's still full of laughter and smiles and love. So, really, isn't that what I want? And we still go from morning until we collapse from exhaustion. I think I do this a lot in life, and I think a lot of us do it. We have a standard that we think is where we need to be. But really, what if for just today, we realize that we are doing exactly what we are supposed to be doing? Hey guys, it's Jen. This is another episode of Reframing Me. I started my summer off super slow. I know that I absolutely needed some time to reset, but I have been a busy girl this week. New and exciting things going on for the show. I have to tell you about them. Okay, so I have the YouTube channel up and I've started to post back from the early episodes, even with captions and all. So if you like to listen on YouTube or want to read the captions or need to read the captions, or you know someone who would prefer to listen that way, send them on over to Reframing Me on YouTube and they can start back from the beginning. And then I also have the website live now, which I'm super excited about. It's reframing-me.com. And you can find all the different platforms to listen to the show on and links to all the socials and the latest episodes. And you can even reach out to me that way. So yay. And I've been planning our summer vacation. The boys have a dead week for football next week. So it's our only chance of the summer to go. And as y'all know, with senior year coming up for my oldest, I don't know what next summer will be. So I know that it might be a lot more challenging to plan around. So I'm totally taking advantage of this break and we're going to Greece. I've never been there and I'm super excited. I can't wait to see it. It looks so beautiful. Don't worry. I have some great episodes for summer remixes while we're gone. And I know we're going to have a great conversation today. I've had a few reframing friends who have reached out with questions and issues that are kind of the same concept, that they're having trouble understanding their teens. Specifically, two questions that I've gotten really made me think about this concept of rhetorical sensitivity, but on the two different extremes. Okay. One friend asked what to do because her 16-year-old daughter was just so stubborn about her appearance. The mom wants her to do her hair and dress in clothes that are more flattering and not so sloppy, wear a bit of makeup, and as she noted, quote unquote, care about her appearance. Despite the mom's attempts to get her, even noting that her friends seem to be more interested in those things, and it worries the mom. And on the flip side, I had another friend ask about her daughter who is constantly changing her style of dress or her behavior or her attitudes, changing based on what her friends like. And that also worries the mom. Well, the obvious commonality is that moms, we all worry, right? And it makes you think of the grass is always greener on the other side. But really, the essence of their questions was the same. Why is she like this? And a genuine concern that it is going to cause her problems. The first mom's concern was about her daughter potentially losing friends due to her inability to, quote unquote, fit in and behave like everyone else, which is a totally logical concern, right? Social isolation or ostracization, it's awful for teens and it's heartbreaking for us to watch as their parent. And we can't help but look at our kids and see things that we're like, but don't you want to fit in? Why do you want to stand out? Why do you want to be left out? especially if you also happen to be a person who personally really has a need to fit in, or maybe you had issues in the past of your own about fitting in. You don't want that for your child. You want it to be easy for her. Now, the second mom was concerned that her daughter's seemingly excessive need to fit in or be like everyone else could be her problem. She felt like her daughter is, quote unquote, constantly changing who she is to be like everyone else, which again, totally logical concern, right? So this is the kind of things that make us not sleep at night, right? In case you were wondering, when you have teenagers, no matter what, there are always a million things to worry about. Both of these moms just want their daughters to be happy and safe and secure people. And really, they may very well be and probably are. They're just not like their moms. Or maybe they're not how their moms think they should be. And both of the moms were frustrated, feeling as if their daughters were only being that way to be difficult. When in actuality, it's probably more likely that for both girls, it's just who they are. It's just how they are. It's just one of a number of communication traits that make up our personality, the person who we are and how we behave, which may be completely different or completely similar, right? Because which this can cause issues in and among itself in families, because sometimes it makes us even more crazy to see those similar traits in others that we have. And as I always tell you, I may not be able to fix things or change people, but I can help you to understand why they're the way that they are. So that's what we are going to have a conversation about today, communication traits. Now, communication traits are the personality traits that are related specifically to communication. Traits are just a way that we can abstractly account for some consistencies in human behavior. They don't explain why people behave as they do. They just describe the behavior. So no, I can't tell these moms why their daughters have those traits, but I can help them to see and understand the traits. And understanding the communication traits provides a basis for you to know what you can expect from others in various situations. So, like if your daughter is her, no matter what, she dresses how she wants, she wears her hair how she wants, she does what she wants. She doesn't feel the need to be like anyone else. She doesn't feel the need to do what her mom suggests. She doesn't feel the need to compromise who she is just to fit in. She is who she is, period. Now, to a mom, that looks like she's being stubborn, but really, she's a noble self. Or if your daughter seems to be a social chameleon who constantly shapeshifts based on those around her, she's not just a follower, she's a rhetorical reflector. Rhetorical sensitivity is the trait of a communicator being sensitive to the rhetorical situation and the people who are in it. Rhetorical sensitivity is adaptation. It's adjusting how you are, how you're communicating in that verbal exchange. Keep in mind that yes, communication can be verbal, so like the actual words that you use, or it can be nonverbal. So all of the other ways that you communicate, whether it's through gestures or tone or touch, or how close you stand to someone, or through the way you dress or do your hair. And rhetorical sensitivity is the trait that describes a person's need or desire to adapt their communication to the people around them. Noble selves don't value flexibility in adapting to different audiences. They believe that their message should be created to suit them, not others. On the other end of the spectrum, rhetorical reflectors, see their self as a social character who takes on whatever role is necessary for the particular situation that they're in, rather than being a fixed entity. They're changeable and adaptable. They can fit in any situation that they find themselves. In the middle of noble selves and rhetorical reflectors are rhetorical sensitives. This intermediate kind of person believes that there is no single self, but instead there is a complex network of selves. They're flexible in that they neither sacrifice their values to please others, nor do they ignore the needs of other people when they're communicating with them. Now, rhetorical sensitivity is only one of a variety of traits that make up how we communicate with others and what they can expect of when communicating with us. Each family member has their own unique communication traits that influence how they express themselves and how they interact within the family. When we understand individual communication traits, we can have healthier family communication and we can form stronger relationships. So let's start with 6 reasons that it's helpful to family communication if we can understand everyone's communication traits and we can kind of fit in a few more of the traits that will hopefully make you feel like, oh, I get it now. So that's why it is this way. Interesting. Or something equally exciting. All right. So first, by recognizing and understanding each family member's communication traits, we can get super valuable insights into their preferred communication styles and their strengths and their limitations. From this, then, we can interpret their messages much more accurately. And when we interpret things the way that they're actually intended, rather than the way that we see them, there's much less of a chance for miscommunication and misunderstandings. I mean, if we understand, we can empathize with each other's perspectives. And if they understand us, they can empathize with ours. And mutual respect is always a good thing. So maybe the first mom, yes, the first one, right? Maybe she herself is a rhetorical reflector. She likes to fit in, and that's okay. Rhetorical reflectors can have lots of good qualities that come from it, like the ability to be very persuasive, and they're liked by others because they're really good at reading the room, right? They know how to help other people to thrive because they can empathize with them because they are so good at reading people. And she sees her daughter, and like all of us moms, she worries when she sees her daughter seeming stubborn and rebellious by being like, you don't know anything. I don't care about makeup and clothes like you. You're so shallow and vain just to fit in. Okay, girl, but if pretty lashes and cute shoes are shallow, then sign me up. Actually, the mom just recognizes the social values of adapting because that's her own trait. Now, that doesn't make the daughter wrong. It just makes her different. She recognizes the value of being who she is, regardless of the situation. And that has positives of its own. That level of genuine authenticity inspires people around to also be kind and genuine and authentic, which makes them great leaders. And we need those too. So, seeing your stubborn daughter as difficult and not caring about her appearance is super negative, right? And it sets up the space for conflict. Reframing it to understand that she's actually a noble self. She believes in being authentically who she is actually good because she is the type who is confident and authentic enough to pave her own way. And she can possibly lead others to be authentic too. Yes, not fitting in can be difficult, but not nearly as difficult as the mom believes, because as a rhetorical reflector, not fitting in, that would be awful. To feel outside of the group, you know what? To her, the daughter, she values different situations. She struggles and thrives under different circumstances. And maybe as a noble self, not fitting in with the pack doesn't have the same end of the world kind of feeling that it does for a rhetorical reflector like her mom. This simple act of understanding her daughter, and reframing her message, it can truly enhance the relationship between the two. Now, along the same lines, mom number 2 sees that her daughter is the rhetorical reflector. She sees her as being a follower. If everyone else jumped off a bridge, would you do it too? That kind of thing, which can bring about an entirely different set of challenges to parent. By understanding that it's not so much that she's a mindless sheep, like following the pack. Instead, understand that she's really intuitive, and she's good at empathizing and reading people. You're not going to change that. But you may need to change your parenting to focus instead more on making good choices and good connections and finding people who are like-minded and surround yourself with them. Coming from a small private school to a big public high school like my kids did, they haven't known many people when they were going in. So everything's been about making new friends. And I always give them the advice to find the person who looks as awkward and alone as you feel at an activity and make friends with them. I am literally 2 for 2 on best friends so far with that advice. So read the room. Again, with mom number 2, simply reframing it can allow her to better parent based on that individual child's traits, can create better family harmony, less conflict, less misunderstanding. Okay, so second, understanding individual family members' differing traits will allow you to actually tailor the way you approach communicating with them. Different communication traits require varied approaches. It can be really helpful for family communication if you understand each other's levels, like of extroversion and introversion, which is really more of a personality trait, but definitely it has meaning here in communication, because some family members may be more extroverted and just thrive in open discussions, while others might be more introverted and prefer one-on-one communication to really open up. Relatedly, it's really helpful to understand where your family members fall with apprehension traits or communication apprehension, which I think we all kind of understand, meaning that you vary in degree of psychological discomfort when you're communicating with other people. Communication apprehension comes in many forms because some people just have an overall stable degree of anxiety across all communication contexts. Or they might have anxiety when communicating in certain contexts or situations or in front of certain audiences. So if a mom is totally comfortable communicating everywhere and with everyone, like zero apprehension, and she sees her son at home and with his friends, and he has zero apprehension. But for some reason, he's having issues in school presenting in front of class or advocating for himself or speaking up to his teacher. She might think he's slacking or he's disinterested, when in actuality, it might be the context of the classroom that brings him that communication apprehension. Or maybe she sees him in groups of other teens and he stands off in the background or at the outskirts, and he doesn't even try to talk to people or to make friends or be engaged. She might really become frustrated with him and maybe even try and be a pushy mom and push him to engage with them, which really would only make it worse because it's probably more the audience of his peers that causes him the communication apprehension. Or maybe he has a college interview and he totally blows it. And she's so angry and confused because he always does well talking and he never has a problem presenting. And now it's his big opportunity and he totally blows it. Maybe he doesn't want it bad enough, or maybe he's just not ready. Or maybe it was the situation of pressure that caused him the communication apprehension. Regardless, again, understanding these traits and reframing the situation to see it as descriptive enables us to adapt our communication approach to suit individual needs, which will create a happier and more supportive family environment. Third, remember way back in episode 13, I think, when we talked about difficult conversations and about conflict. If you haven't listened yet, don't worry because we are remixing that up a little bit this week for our summer remix. But we said, not to spoil it, of course, but we said that absolutely conflict is a common and natural part of family life, 100%. However, we also said that with effective communication, we can help to constructively resolve conflict. Understanding each family member's communication traits is really important when you're addressing conflicts because it allows us to approach the situation with empathy and consideration for the other person. For example, some people may need time alone to process their thoughts, while other people prefer immediate discussion. Relatedly, understanding family members' aggression traits can help you manage conflict better. Aggression is actually made up of 4 different traits, and understanding the differences among them is super important because 2 are actually constructive or positive traits, and 2 are destructive or negative traits. We have a tendency to group it all together and see what we consider to be a quote unquote aggressive communication behavior and consider it all to be negative. But if we understand the difference, we can reframe it to be the constructive and recognize what behavior really is truly the destructive. So, assertiveness and argumentativeness, which interestingly, many of us consider negative, right? Ugh, she's so argumentative, right? They're actually constructive traits and totally facilitate interpersonal communication and satisfaction and happiness. The communication trait of assertiveness refers to someone's general tendency to be interpersonally dominant, to be forceful, and argumentative is the tendency to present and defend your position on a controversial issue or your attempts to refute someone else's positions. These aren't bad things, like at all. Yes, when you're in we'll call it a discussion with someone who is argumentative, or you just don't want the conflict with someone who's assertive, they are totally exhausting you and seem really bad, right? Trust me, I know growing up, I was told more than once to not be so argumentative. But namely, that would come up when I was questioning something, right? And I'm pretty sure that many of us think about our teens when they question something that we don't want to defend, especially with a logical argument. Ugh. Which is probably why some parents resort to the because I said so, right? Don't be so argumentative. It really means don't question me. But questioning things is actually a constructive quality, just like assertiveness is a constructive quality. People absolutely label it as negative. Don't be so pushy. Another one that I may have been called, you too, right? Any of you called pushy? Pushy sounds so awful. But sometimes, well, oftentimes, right, in life, you need people to be pushy. It's not pushy, it's assertive. And it's a good thing. Argumentativeness and assertiveness may be annoying, especially during a conflict, and super especially when dealing with your teenagers. But recognize that these are constructive traits that absolutely help to facilitate interpersonal communication. So when you see them as argumentative, instead of thinking of it as just wanting to fight, reframe it as questioning things. They're being inquisitive. They're looking for answers. And yes, I totally get it. That can be frustrating when either you don't want to answer it or if you don't have those answers. But it doesn't mean it's not a good trait to have. Same for being assertive. We need assertive. It's good to be able to advocate for yourself and for your position. Again, yes, frustrating to deal with at times, but again, good for the overall cause. But that's not to say that all aggressive communication behavior is good, because there is a reason beyond frustration that we think of aggression as bad. Hostility and verbal aggression are traits that are destructive and harmful to interpersonal communication and to family relationships. Hostility refers to a person when their communication behavior is just irritable, negative, resentful, suspicious. So being moody or grouchy or short-tempered. If they refuse to cooperate with another family member, or they express dislike or hatred towards someone, or look at others with the expectation that they are out to get them, so to speak, right? That's hostility. That's the destructive side of aggression. Absolutely. Same with verbal aggression, which is when a person is prone to attacking the self-concepts of people instead of their positions on the issue that you're discussing. Hostility and verbal aggression are most definitely destructive communication traits, and they reduce the quality of a family relationship. Even though all four of these traits, so assertiveness, argumentativeness, hostility, and verbal aggression, even though all of these are considered aggression traits, they are not all equal. And it's super important to recognize the differences and label them and manage them appropriately. So, if you have a conflict between a mom and a teen about sleeping over at a friend's house, the mom says no. The teen really wants to go and feels that she should be able to because all of her friends will be there and she doesn't want to miss out. So she pushes the issue. She keeps bringing it up with points in her favor. Like, you know, the parents. I'm very responsible. I'm never out later than I'm supposed to be. I don't go places I'm not supposed to. But the mom, she has a lot on her plate right now with siblings and work, and she's super stressed. She doesn't have the bandwidth to deal with this. No, she says. But maybe just think about it, okay? The teen then, of course, brings it up again later. The mom, God, stop being so pushy. I swear, all you want to do is cause problems. And the teen, but mom, I haven't given you any reason not to trust me in the past, have I? I said no. But why? Because I said so. You just never listen. You just want to push and push and push until you make me upset. All you care about is you and what you want. Well, I'm the adult and I said no. So you like my role playing there, right? But you get the point. So yes, the teen is being assertive. But to have the mom attack her self-concept by calling her pushy rather than provide actual points against the issue, the sleepover, it's verbally aggressive. Same with snapping at her and being irritable. That's hostility. And both are destructive to the communication exchange. Whereas the daughter, she was being constructive with the argumentativeness of presenting arguments in her favor in order to advocate for herself. She, in my exchange there, she actually appears to be open for discussion, right? She's asking for a counter reason why she shouldn't go, which again is trying to facilitate a discussion. Had the mom responded with her own arguments, something like maybe, yes, I know the parents, but I don't like that they won't be there because it feels unsafe. All right. That more than I don't trust you. That would be a good, strong argument that, again, would facilitate the conflict towards a resolution. But calling her names, saying that she just wants to cause problems, and the mom just laying down the law because she's the adult, well, that does nothing but escalate the situation negatively. But if we can recognize and respect the differences and see the constructive aggressive traits as constructive and positive, rather than assume that they're all destructive and negative, we can exchange productive communication that can lead to conflict resolution, and we can maintain healthier relationships in our families. But Jen, you might be asking, see, now I'm you. Sometimes people in my family are the ones who are being hostile or verbally aggressive. What do I do? How do I communicate with them? It would be so very nice, right? To be able to just never deal with toxicity, right? Unfortunately, in this real world that we live in, we do encounter hostile and verbally aggressive people. And for some, yes, it's even in their own homes. And yes, for some, it's even in their own teenagers. Understanding the causes is a good first step. So there are 4 main causes of verbal aggression. First, transference is when a person uses verbally aggressive messages to attack someone who reminds them of some unresolved conflict. So it's not necessarily about this person or this issue, but they're transferring their other issue onto this one. Second is disdain. So like they dislike the person and they have a desire to communicate this dislike, so they verbally attack them. Third, people do learn verbal aggression. So social learning, namely that they have behaved this way and been rewarded for such behavior in the past. So looky here, they are doing it again. So something as simple as talking to you like this in the past and getting their way. Well, look at that. They were rewarded. And so here they are at it again. And fourth, it is very possible that their verbal aggression is from an argumentative skill deficiency. Like they just don't know how to argue skillfully. Some of this, especially when we're dealing with our teens, is truly that they don't have the skill set or the maturity or the brain development to effectively argue. So instead, they resort to attacking or name calling or insults, verbal aggression. I hate you. You're the worst mom ever. You're ruining my life. So is it really that? Or do they just not know how to have that discussion rationally because they're 13? Or yes, maybe even 16 or 17. So what do we do? How do we communicate with a family member who is hostile? Keep calm and do what you can do to avoid escalating the situation. Oh, well, first, I should say, I want to definitely add, I am talking about reasonable conflict situations. I am not talking about any type of confrontation or hostile situation where you are literally unsafe. If you are in a situation like that, girl, you get yourself safe. you get help, you get support, like the police. Okay. I am not talking to you because sometimes situations are quite literally physically confrontational conflicts. And that is not what we're talking about here. That requires intervening for your safety. We are talking about a conflict with a difficult person, an argument, so to speak, nothing dangerous or physical. So when you are in that argument with a hostile or verbally aggressive person, keep calm and do whatever you can to avoid escalating the situation. Because often hostile people project their aggression in a way designed to keep you off balance, which lets them exploit your weaknesses. So don't show them the weaknesses. And the less reactive that you are, the more you can use your better judgment to handle the situation. I know it's hard not to be reactive. Absolutely. But take a deep breath, count to 10. Remember when we talked about practicing the pause? Well, practice the pause. Maintain self-control so that you don't further escalate the conflict. You need to depersonalize the conflict. Reframe it from looking at it reactively to looking at it proactively. Remember way back in episode 9 in Manifest That Shit, when we had a conversation about Don Miguel Ruiz's book, The Four Agreements? And I'll relink that episode for you because I love that book and I love that episode. Don't take anything personally. What that person is saying and doing is a projection of their own reality. This is where it really helps to recognize the personality trait of, say, hostility. We said hostility is often transference, right? It's not about this or it's not about you. If you can depersonalize the conflict, you can even empathize and see it from their perspective. Now, a very effective way to deal with this is to look at it from their perspective and frame it as, it must not be easy to. Like, must not be easy to be 16 and to feel like you're so mature, but then at the same time, feel like you're having rules imposed on you. It must not be easy to understand why you're given so much stress and responsibility, but then when you have something that you want, you feel like you're told no. Or it must not be easy to be frustrated with your position in life and see someone else thriving. Now, you're not doing this exercise to excuse the verbally aggressive or the hostile behavior, but you can begin to realize that they're struggling and you can handle them with more rational detachment, which does, yes, help with facilitating interpersonal conflict, even when it's coming in the form of destructive communication traits. Okay, so goodness, where are we? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so fourth, if we can understand individual communication traits, we can recognize that different family members express their emotions differently, and they prefer to receive emotional support differently. And family communication obviously involves not only exchanging information, but also expressing emotions and building emotional connections. There is absolutely nothing wrong with expressing human emotions. I tell my kids this all of the time. Unfortunately, many of our generation, so their parents, were raised in a much more emotionless environment, which was definitely one that did not encourage showing your emotions, especially for men, right? Well, that's not true, is it? I mean, it's not true that they were taught not to show their emotions because they're very comfortable showing anger, right? Just maybe not sadness or frustration through tears, but many were taught that it's okay to show emotions like sadness or frustration, but it's through anger, right? Anger is also an emotion. I hate to tell you that, but Anyway, that's exactly my point. Different family members express their emotions in different ways, and that's okay. Some get mad, some cry, some want to talk, some want their space. By being aware of these traits, we can respond in ways that foster emotional closeness and strengthen the familial bond. It allows us to provide comfort, encouragement, to provide validation, and do this in a way that resonates with each family member. So if someone likes space when they're angry, by forcing them to talk, it's only going to push them away. If you recognize that their communication preference is to have some space, you know that you should give them some space, and it will actually make you closer. However, if their communication preference is talking and feeling supportive, and instead you give them space, well, then you just push them away. And I know that's what's so challenging about managing all of this in families, right? Each person may have different preferences. It is not a one-size-fits-all approach. To build those emotional connections, you need to be aware of each person's preferred way to express their emotions, which of course makes for better family communication and happier, more peaceful families. Okay, fifth, I think we can all understand that effective family communication relies on active listening, right? It makes each family member feel heard and feel understood. If we can understand individual communication traits, we can develop the active listening skills that we can tailor to each person's preferences. So, some family members may appreciate when you're talking them to give them like direct eye contact, to give them verbal affirmations like, yes, or asking questions to follow up. While others may prefer a much more subtle approach. And they might feel like that direct eye contact and those verbal affirmations and those questions, they're forceful or they're condescending or they're aggressive. But the person giving the affirmations, they may see it as a way of being supportive, showing that they're paying attention, showing that they are taking an active listening approach by asking questions. By actively listening in a way that aligns with the other person's communication traits, the family can have an environment that encourages open and meaningful dialogue. And sixth, last, when we can understand individual communication traits, we can understand the best way that our family can make decisions and that we can come to possible resolutions of things to foster teamwork and innovation by using each person's strengths and their communication styles. Like if someone excels in verbal communication, they can lead the discussions. And then someone with strong analytical skills, they can contribute to the problem solving processes. Just like if someone is more decisive or a better planner, families can be more productive and they can work towards their goal with this more efficient and collaborative approach to making family decisions simply by understanding each other's communication traits. And instead of looking that someone's not doing something, understand that maybe they're doing something different because that's what fits their style. Thank you so much for listening and for spending this time with me. I hope today that you can take a breath and realize that just maybe you are doing exactly what you are supposed to be doing. If you've enjoyed the show, please share it with your friends to help us build our community. You can find me on socials, on Instagram and TikTok at Reframing Me, on YouTube. Remember, YouTube now, woohoo! It's Reframing Me. And on Facebook, it's Reframing Me, and join the Facebook group, Reframing Me, the podcast community, to connect with other women who are also raising teens and rediscovering themselves. And don't forget the most exciting addition, the website that's now up and running, reframing-me.com. Remember, we're headed off on vacation later this week, but have no fear. I will keep you occupied with a summer remix and a couple of my favorites. Until next time, be well, communicate, and know that you're where you're supposed to be.